Today, we're going to be talking about aging at home safely, and soon you'll meet our expert guest, Melody Pitts from Accessibilities. I myself am Anuja Pereira. I'm the founder of Seamless Rightsizing. So thank you so much for being here today. We will get going. So just a few quick housekeeping notes for all of you. Your cameras and mics are automatically turned off. So feel comfortable, relax. You're here to be with us. And so no one can see your hair or hear you. So please, like I said, just be comfortable where you are. At the end, we will be doing a presentation. If at any time during the presentation you have any questions that come up, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat and be able to ask Melody any of those questions as well. If you want to look for the Q&A symbol, it's down at the bottom. If you're on a desktop, you should see a question mark in a little box, or on your phone, you should see that at the bottom of your screen. So we will also leave time at the end if you have any questions, but if you have any during, please feel free to ask. Next, we are going to do some polls. You may see them throughout the presentation. Something will pop up on your screen and you can just answer the question. They're multiple choice. And lastly, there will be an email sent out tomorrow morning with extra information from today's webinar, a handout, some extra links that may come up during the presentation. So you can look for that tomorrow. And usually we put in a little contest in our follow-up emails, and they include things like to give feedback, and you could win a gift card, a $20 gift card to your favorite coffee shop. So please look out for that tomorrow as well. Oh, it's echo repeating. Okay, I'm hearing that. Thank you. That's good news to know. Let me switch something. Sorry about that. I'm sorry, I'm just going to change. Is that better? Could someone let me know in the chat if that's better? Okay, I'm going to keep going. Oh, not better. Thank you, Cheryl. It's never happened before. All right, we're going to try this. Sorry, everyone. Do that. Is that better? No. Oh, goodness. Is it you? I'm so sorry. Oh, mine is fine. I'm hearing a mine is fine. Cheryl, you are twice. I'm wondering if it's because you are in twice. There were a couple of attendees that were signed in maybe on two devices, potentially. Mine is fine. Cheryl is in twice. That's why. Okay, well, I'm going to keep going. Thank you, everyone. Cheryl, you may want to sign out because I do think, was there someone else in twice? Roberta. So if those are the two people that may have been saying sound problems, it might be that you're logged in twice. So I will keep going. I'm sorry about that, everyone. Hopefully everyone can hear me now. So like I said, your cameras and mics are off. Hopefully you're signed in once. We will have lots of Q&A, and it seems like a lot of you have found those. So thank you for that. And like I said, we are going to start with a couple of polls. So those if they come up, you'll be able to answer them right in there if you feel comfortable. All right, we'll keep going. So a little bit about the seamless right sizing. So like I said, I founded that a number of years ago. We are a real estate company offering solutions specifically for seniors. So we help from start to finish, and our goal is really to take the overwhelm out of the process for any older adults who are looking to get into a right-sized home. And so we help folks decide if it might be time to be in a different type of home, and then from all the way from making that decision into getting where would I go? What would I do with all this stuff? And all the parts of the logistics throughout we help with. And so our senior focus, that's really where we have our expertise. This is what we do. We're trained in it, and really focused on helping people get into the homes that make sense for them. So today, actually, I'll just quickly, you may have seen at the beginning while you were in the waiting room that we do have a toolkit. And so that will include in our email tomorrow, but you can also access it at seamlessrightsizing.ca/toolkit. And these are some tools and strategies and assets that we find our clients find really helpful at different stages of the process. So the big one at the front that you can see on the screen right now is it time to right size? And that's not something we can answer for you. That's really something that only you can answer for yourself. And so this little self-assessment is quite simple, but very, very powerful because it helps you decide if it might be time for you to get into a right-sized home. So please take a look at it. Like I said, we will send the link out tomorrow as well. Next up, we do have our seventh session of our Right Sizing Readiness series coming up in August. And so the link tomorrow will be in your email as well. It will be again at 7 p.m. on Thursday, August 6th. Our guest on August 6th will be Penelope Matheson. She is the host of Boomer Exchange. I was recently able to be a guest on Saga 960 with her. And we're going to be talking about aging with intention and purpose. And you'll learn more about Penelope throughout, but she is a phenomenal woman who has made a lot of very deliberate decisions as she ages. And so we're really excited to talk to her as well. And so we're going to get into it now. That was a lot of housekeeping. Sorry about that again, about the sound. Today we are talking about aging in place safely. And like I said, my job or work is really around finding right-sized homes, but my passion is people living safely. And that's what really brought seamless right-sizing to fruition. But sometimes people are not ready to move, and sometimes people want to stay in their homes. And so today we want to just make sure that people are doing that safely. So that's why we've invited Melody Pitts today to be with us from Accessibilities. And so she's going to be talking about things you can do right in the home that you are in to make it safer and more accessible. So I'll invite Melody to turn on her camera. She is here. Hi, Melody. How are you?
I'm well, Anuja. Thanks so much for having me this evening.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Sorry about all those hiccups. Those aren't usual, but I'm glad we were here and we made
That
it.
is okay. It's usual to have a few technical glitches every day, right? So we
Absolutely.
got our quota in.
There we go. So we're going to get started. So we have a slide here just talking a bit about accessibilities, Melody. I know this is a family affair. It is in our house too. And so do you want to just quickly, before we get into the details, do you want to quickly tell us a bit about accessibilities?
Totally, yeah. So Accessibilities is a family-owned company, family-owned and operated company. We've been in operation since 1998, serving all across the GTA. We've got two locations in Oakville and Etobicoke, and so between the two of those, we're able to service kind of that whole of the GTA. Truly family-owned and operated. So my brother and I run each location, and my parents and my sister who lives overseas obviously all are a part of it. My parents are the founders back, 28, 20, yeah, 2, 4, 5 years,
28.
almost 30 years ago. Yeah. So we're going back quite far now, but yeah, so they worked just tirelessly for so long, and so my brother and I are honored to kind of step in and help them retire a little bit as the years go on. But it is a passion of ours and something that we just feel so proud and honored to do. And yeah, truly family run, and our staff that are with us are also like family. So
Yeah.
it's a great environment to be a part of.
Oh, that's great. So I think it would be great at this point, Melody, just to get a sense of who's in the room. So we'll do a quick poll just because I think it will help us guide our conversation throughout. If we know if people are here, sometimes people are here as adult children. I'm sure you see that a lot. Some people might be here for themselves or they might be here for a loved one, someone they might be caring
Mm.
for. So we're going to throw a quick poll. You should see that popping up. And there's basically three questions here. So the first one is, why are you attending today? So you're here for yourself potentially, or you're an adult child or a caregiver. The second question is, what best describes the home that you live in today? And I think that's going to help us understand again, Melody, maybe where the conversation should go if
Mhm.
people are in a two-story home, if they're already in a retirement residence, a condo, and then who you live with. So are you living on your own or with a partner or your friend? So if you all wanted to just quickly take a look at those polls.
Those are all such great questions, and it really helps us shape the conversation a little better because, like we know, there's a difference between if we're making these decisions for ourselves or if we're trying to navigate how to best help someone else make those decisions. It really gives us a good platform to launch off of how we share some information today.
Okay, perfect. Do we have some answers? I don't think I can see them here.
I've got polling in progress, so it might
Yeah.
have, there we
Oh, here we
go.
go. Perfect. So I think everyone should be able to see this. So most people are here. 76% of the people, I don't know if you can see this, Melody, are here for themselves. 24% are here as a caregiver. And what describes most people are living in a two-story or a split level. And just a couple, one is in a retirement residence, a few are in a condo. And people, the majority of people who are here are living alone. So just a little bit of a sense of, sort of who's in the room.
Yeah. Yes, that's really helpful. And it is, one of the things that we know right now is that I think it's Stats Canada who's released recently a stat that says we are right now in the biggest boom of the baby boomers and aging. And by 2030 is when we expect to be at the peak of baby boomers aging. And so, needing to be discovering how to be transitioning in spaces or where that next transition might be. And so it's an interesting I mean, it's a great time to be having these conversations and really equipping ourselves with knowledge to know what those options are because sometimes, aging in place is the best option, but we need to know how to do it safely. So it's a great time to be having these conversations and really thankful to be here to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. So we'll take a look at the agenda, Melody, just so you know, this is our plan. And if we go, if the questions take us on a different route, well, we're ready for the ride. But the first thing we want to talk about, and we talk about this a lot at Seamless Rightsizing, is we want to plan. We want people to feel in control and be in control of what is happening. And one of those things we always say is making choices by choice rather than circumstances, making these decisions by choice. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that, home safety risks and some low cost fixes because these things get really expensive. And so we're going to talk about some great, really affordable ideas that can really increase a safety of a home. We'll talk a bit about mobility devices, accessibility supports, and the larger mods that are done to a home. And then I know we're going to talk a little bit about some funding options, some costs, and really when to make that decision of maybe there's a tipping point where maybe aging in place no longer makes sense. And we'll talk about what those points might be.
That's great.
Okay. All right. I'll throw it over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So Anuja, you made a great point there just before, and I want to highlight that. And it is so wonderful to have the ability to equip ourselves with knowledge so that we're being proactive rather than reactive when making these decisions. Oftentimes, we get to see people in our stores when a fall has occurred or when something has happened that now is putting someone in a position to need equipment or modification. And oftentimes people will say, I had no idea all of this sort of stuff existed. And so opening that door is this just beautiful world of, oh my goodness, all of a sudden my bathroom can be safer or my, getting up and downstairs, but nobody knows that this stuff is available. And so, being able to have these conversations in advance so we can be proactive is so much nicer than having to shift into the reactive space. And so, what we know about aging in place now, well, most people do prefer to age in their home. Most people want to stay in the space that they've been in, whether it be that you've downsized into a home or that it's your family home that you've been in for many, many years. A lot of people do prefer to stay in their own space. Um, we know, though, that the space that you're in can sometimes become challenging, whether it be that you have a split level with multiple staircases, whether it be that your bathroom is not necessarily feeling safe, whether it be that your shower and your tub trying to get in and out of it feels a little more trickier than it used to. Um, there's all these little things that can kind of start to appear as we age. And that's where we hope today's conversation can kind of point out some small changes that we can be making earlier on to keep us safe. So avoiding the fall or avoiding, some of the other triggers that can happen in our home that can create an unsafe environment. And that we can look at, like I said, preventing rather than reacting.
Yeah. One question, is there something that you've noticed as a common misconception people have about aging in place, just in general?
Well, I think like anything, we all kind of possess a mindset sometimes of, I don't need it, I'm okay. And it, it is oftentimes something where not everyone wants to be incredibly proactive, to need a raised toilet seat or a grab bar in the shower. None of those items feel very, attractive to us to think, oh yeah, I'm gonna, jump at the bit to get something like that. But actually, it's better for us to look at it as attractive, as empowering, as a good thing rather than something that's declining.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes people have an association of um, negative when we think, well, I need a piece of equipment. Well, that piece of equipment is going to help you maintain that independence for much longer and avoid a fall.
Yep.
And so that's where I would say the misconception is. I get it. I myself am that way sometimes. I think we all are. But certainly, when it comes to prevention, this is the best and most important conversation you can have.
Absolutely. And I think we may have chatted about this last time I saw you, but would you say in your experience that every home can be changed into a place that's safe, like for someone? Do you think any home can be made safe?
I think every individual is going to be so vastly different as to how and what that looks like. So if we are looking at putting some small changes in place, so a few very standard things would be, grab bars in the shower and in the bathroom. You might look at stair lifts in the home to help you get up and down stairs, or just modifying certain little things. There's absolutely something for every home.
Hmm.
But as we know, if there's an illness that comes that may have somebody progressing in a certain way, that's when we look at, what is possible and what shifts can be made in the home to make that safe space.
Yeah,
But at that point, that's when you start to make some decisions about how to do that best.
sure. Okay, well, let's talk about some of the risks, like the places that we want to look at first. So on our next slide, we're talking about things that are the big areas that we need to worry about. So we'll,
Yes.
David, change to the next slide. Yeah, it's not showing. Perfect. Thank you. All right. So where do we look first?
Yeah. So the number one place I always say is the bathroom.
Yep.
The bathroom is one of the most vulnerable spots we will encounter in our home. And it is most of the time one of the easiest to begin to modify. Uh, Things like a grab bar in the shower or on the wall, getting into the shower, things like a toilet safety frame that give you arms that run alongside of your toilet so that you have a sturdy place to stand and get up. Things like even a raised toilet seat. So you have a raised toilet seat with arms or without arms, but it makes getting up and down quite a bit easier. Those are the real key areas to ensure that you are balanced and supported, and
Mhm.
especially when you're getting in and out of the bathtub or shower, surfaces can be slippery. And so we want to make sure that we've got a very good base and foundation for ourselves to be mobile and getting in and out of those places.
Yeah.
Uh,
One thing that I don't think you mentioned and I know is really important, and I've talked to some clients about this, is just making sure that our mats in the bathroom are really good, right? Because it's a slip hazard. If you know, some people use those type mats that don't have rubber backing on the bottom that just,
Yeah.
if you're too slippery or moving too quickly out of a transfer from the shower or the tub, is that something that's important? Like would you suggest a certain type of mat in the bathroom?
I think you're exactly right. So first and foremost would be something that fits properly. So sometimes we try and have mats that don't fit the space properly, and so the corners are kind of, edging up, and that's creating a bit of a trip hazard there.
Yeah.
Or something that's even just too small, and so when you're trying to get out, you're trying to aim for it, and your foot kind of loses balance, and off you go. So having the right size, but absolutely something with a firm and sturdy rubber backing. And you want
Yeah.
to be checking that over time because they can break down or kind of lose that grip. And so we want to be checking in on that to ensure that it's going to be safe for us.
Yeah.
Um, but absolutely, all of that, all of the hazards that could potentially trip or slip, we always want to be keeping an eye on that, especially when it comes to being wet, because we know that when we're wet, our surfaces get quite slippery, and then that's when we can have falls happen. So
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one question that just came through is about the grab bars that are suction cups. So I think people are maybe hesitant. I'm guessing this question is related to not wanting to put those screws in the wall and modifying that way. So I know there are suction cup ones. What are your thoughts or experiences with that?
Yeah. So suction cup grab bars can be great in temporary situations. I actually just had someone in the store today. Their mom is coming to visit them for 2 weeks during the summer, and she was looking at ways to help modify the home to keep it safe for her mom. But she wasn't crazy on the idea of drilling in through the tile and kind of looking at modifications that were a bit more permanent. And
Yeah.
so in a situation like that, we always ask, to see a picture of the tiles and that sort of stuff, because there are situations where a tile wouldn't be suitable. You need a clean, flat surface
Mm,
to make sure that, the suction cup is able to properly adhere. It is quite a large suction cup. So you want to make sure of that. But also, as we know, suction over time is going to kind of release. Now, there are safety mechanisms in place that kind of show you if it's giving way. There's a green light on most of them, or a green switch that shows you, yes, it's firmly stuck, and it kind of
mhm.
slips to red if it's becoming, a little bit unstuck. But
Yeah.
even then, it's not a perfect science. And so that's where we say, if you know that this is a place that you're going to be transitioning into, and that this home is where you're planning on staying for a while, it is best to install the grab bar,
Yeah.
to go right into the studs and just be the safest. But certainly for things like travel, or if someone's visiting, it's always a great option to have a suction grab bar, and certainly something that can absolutely be, providing that safety.
Okay. So bathrooms are a big one. And I mean, you just
Bathrooms are a big
mentioned
one.
you mentioned like, I mean, even the mat is like a pretty inexpensive fix, but
Yeah.
falls are the scariest thing to me. They terrify me for folks, for my parents, for myself, for, like those
Yes.
falls and the other space that really, again, falls really come to mind is around the stairs. So do you want to talk a bit about safety on the stairs?
Sure, yeah. So stairs, we often know, can be one of the biggest challenges for us to be able to access all the different types of our or parts of our home. I cannot tell you the amount of stories I have heard for people's creative ways of getting up and down the stairs. And it just, oh, it breaks my heart sometimes when you hear, because you think that is not safe to do, but it's what we do, right? It's
Yeah.
how we do it, and we've just become accustomed to it. Um, Installing a stair lift in your home is probably one of the most liberating and independent creating things that people can do to be able to continue accessing all levels of their home and enjoying that. Um, I know we'll get into it a little bit later on, but there is a big difference for people as it pertains to, straight staircases, or staircases that have curves, staircases that are like a large radius curve. And so, we have some tips and tricks for being able to look out for, different types of staircases if you were thinking about downsizing or moving into a different space. But if the current space that you're in is something that, you want to be able to continue accessing all levels, a stair lift is 100% a wonderful choice to have. For anyone who, again, is looking for a more temporary space, we have the option to rent stair lifts, and that would be for a straight staircase. But that's something that, is also on offer. They do bolt into the stairs, so it is a very, permanent feeling thing. But we've had lots of clients where, if they know that they're going to be kind of testing the waters and wanting to see if a stair lift is the right option for them, that they're able to rent for, a period of time to see. So absolutely. But, we've had life-changing moments for so many people when they say, I haven't been able to go upstairs in almost a year, and now I can actually go upstairs and sleep in my own bed. What a
Yeah,
beautiful gift that is to be able to do.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah,
and just on the screen you can see that there's been some like from your website. So we'll share the links tomorrow, absolutely. But I do also want to talk about some of the less, let's call it less intense fixes for the stairs. So what else can I do? Maybe I'm not at stair lift level. Maybe I'm just really trying to not fall because you and I both know, and many folks here know that, sometimes the fall can be the thing, right? That,
absolutely.
really changes life. So what else can
Yeah.
I do if I'm a little bit worried about trying to prevent a fall?
Yeah. So make sure that you have a very sturdy banister installed on the staircase. We all know that over the years, and people, especially if you've had children in and out of the house, everyone running down the stairs, the banister can get kind of rickety, and maybe one bolt has popped off the wall midway down. And, we want to make sure that all of our safety mechanisms, that if we fall and you reach out for that, that it is not going to come out of the wall. So we're making sure that we're reinforcing those. Um, Also around footwear. Let's make sure that we're wearing something. Some of us, if we have hard bottom slippers that are non-slip, or if you're someone who prefers to wear socks, make sure that you have socks on that have the little grips on the bottom, the non-slip socks. That's
Yeah,
going to help us be safe on the surface level and give us our most sturdy foundation to be able to climb up and down safely. But
yeah.
certainly the number one is make sure you have a sturdy banister in place. That's really going to allow you to take your time and be balanced as you're going up and down the stairs.
Yeah. Another thing I've seen is just, again, a really inexpensive option is around those sticky, like brightly colored tapes that go on the edge of the stairs, right? How do those work? Is it just to be able to see the difference?
Yeah, so there's glow in the dark tape, and there's like white tape. So if we have visual impairment, that we need some extra support in kind of seeing where the differentiation of the treads is.
Yeah.
There's all that. There's as I mentioned, there's kind of like the highlighter tape, the glow in the dark tape, white tape. That really comes down to the personal preference of how and what's going to help you focus on that next step. But certainly there is lots of option out there. I would I would avoid, I've seen people putting, there's like mats that you can put on the stairs, that if for like a wooden step, you put like a little carpeted mat on each tread. I
Yeah.
would be very careful of using something like that, because again, if that uh, bottom of the mat is not super secure, that can pose as a slip or a trip
Yeah.
risk. And so we want to try and avoid anything that's not securely fastened, just because, as we say, you just can lose that footing and something slides out from underneath you and it becomes a real hazard right away.
Yeah. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on people installing a second handrail? So having a double handrail instead of just one?
Um, I I mean, it's not a bad idea. As I'm trying to think about that, I'm thinking, I don't know that I've seen many times that being done. I guess it depends on the setup of your home, right?
For
Because
sure.
I think sometimes depending on what if one
Configuration.
side's open or one side's
Yeah.
not, as I'm thinking about it, I'm thinking, oh yeah, that'd be possible on my staircase because it's
Yeah.
like two walls going up. Again, I think, when we're thinking about things that are fixed into the wall and we feel like it's going to be a good idea to help be safe, there's no bad option. Where the bad options, well, and I'm using air quotes as I say bad, because we want to be careful not to think of it as bad, but where the unsafe options come in is where we're trying to do things that aren't properly fixed in creating
Sure.
a stable, hold or surface. So that means we're going into the studs, we're making sure that we've got everything in properly. We're not kind of just trying to stick something, in place on the wall that we know it could hold, the 300-pound test, where if you're holding on to it, it's not ripping out of the wall.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's talk about the bedroom and the kitchen just before we move on to the next slide. So, in the bedroom, obviously we spend a lot of time there. We wake up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. What are maybe two things that would be great to add in a bedroom?
So bedroom, first and foremost, under $100, get a bed rail. When we wake up in the middle of the night, I don't know about you, but as you age, getting up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom is something that can occur a few times a night. And especially those first couple of times, I find waking anywhere in the hours of, kind of like 11 p.m. to 2 a.m., you're just kind of in that deep sleep where you're a little bit disoriented and maybe just not fully stable. And so taking a minute to swing our legs out of the bed, have them rest on the ground for a minute, and having a sturdy place where you can grab hold, get yourself up, again, stable yourself, and then start your journey to the bathroom. That's going to be your safest bet. Um, Obviously, we want to be making sure that our pathways are cleared, that we're, have a very defined area that we can walk from the bed to the bathroom safely. Because again, in the middle of the night, even if you have night lights and it's not fully dark, we're still at reduced vision. We're still kind of in a little bit of a slumber, and being able to have that sturdy way of getting out of the bed is going to be our best bet.
Yeah.
And then I mentioned the other thing just before, night lights. Make sure that you have, not a motion sensor, because you want it to be kind of ambient on all the time. But there's some that have, a lower setting, and then as it detects motion, it kind of goes up a little bit brighter. Put them in pathways that make sense for where you travel during the night. If it's something that you get out of your bed and maybe shift down to the living room midway through the night, have a couple of night lights in the hallways as well as the bedroom. But certainly a very quick and non-invasive switch for the bedroom would be ensuring that you've got a bed rail, just that thing to sturdy yourself as you get out and up from bed.
Yeah. Okay, wonderful. And then my favorite, the kitchen, safety in the kitchen. What are some very quick or easy fixes that we can, or big fixes that are important in the kitchen?
Yeah. So the kitchen, obviously we have our known dangers. So cooking is never going to be, a safe thing depending on how you cook. I know for me, sometimes my cooking can get pretty messy. So, we're not going to talk about those sorts of dangers, but let's talk about how we can still enjoy being in the kitchen. So a lot of times, some upset or some kind of reduced enjoyment in the kitchen is when we have hard times like holding on to our utensils or being able to move our pots and pans around. And so we actually kind of start to move away from doing things like that because our hands and our bodies just aren't capable of that. In our aids for daily living section, we have a variety of different utensils, whether it be weighted utensils with larger grips on them, pot holders, all different types of things that can help us maybe use what we have in our kitchen a little bit differently. If we have arthritis in our hands, if we have carpal tunnel, if we have tennis elbow, all of those sorts of things can really make it difficult to use those kind of small handled items. And so this is something that can really help us start to enjoy the kitchen again. Knob turners for the stove. There's just so many different things. And so I think oftentimes in the kitchen, falls are going to be possible anywhere in the home. And so when we go back to kind of talking about, having a solid surface, if you're going to be having your like solid state slippers on or non-slip socks, that applies to anywhere in the house where we want to make sure that we're being as sturdy as possible. But in terms of enjoyment in the kitchen and how we can kind of continue to enjoy that space, these are ways that we find a lot of people going, I had no idea that existed. And we're talking, $20 and under for a lot of these modifications, which is a wonderful thing to be able to kind of put in the drawer and replace what isn't working for you.
Yeah. I think you just sort of hit it on the head, right? These modifications, how I understand them is, and I know there's hesitation out there, but they increase independence, they increase enjoyment, right? And so I know these are hard transitions, to feel like I need this thing, but to be able to cook again or eat again independently, to be able to drink more independently, all these things are really helpful. And so I love that those are out there and the way that you said it, just to increase enjoyment, right? Which
Yeah.
is absolutely. And again, I think a couple other things just with entryways and halls, like again, I think the same theme, right? Avoiding clutter, avoiding things that are slippable, just
Yes,
making sure that things are safe, I think makes a lot of sense. So
absolutely.
I love low cost improvements again, because, they're a really easy entry point for people and maybe, something that's just accessible for all. So let's talk about some of these low cost improvements that are here. So you mentioned some of them, but this one around keeping daily items within easy reach. And I think that's true in the kitchen, but elsewhere. So what do you mean by easy? Like what's considered easy reach, do you think?
Yeah, so I think when we look at the areas of our home that we use the most, so let's talk about, the living room. So we know in the living room, we may spend a lot of our time sitting on the couch, reading, watching TV. And as we're doing that, we think about maybe, clipping our nails or having, reading your book and then having your tea. So in our living room, we might be having a basket next to us that has a few of our self-care items, a few of our TV items, a few of our word search books, and knowing that that little basket is there for us. It's nice, neat, and organized, and we know where it is. We're not walking around trying to find things.
Hmm.
Now, I want to be careful here to say something. We want to be walking around. We want to be getting up and being mobile, right? So I don't want to be coming across as saying, just make it so that you can sit in one place and not have to move. That is not what I am saying. But what I'm saying is when we have things neatly organized and accessible for where we need, our minds are less cluttered, and therefore we're able to focus on moving around our home intentionally.
Hmm.
And so, keeping daily items within reach means having it where you know it is. Certainly, when we see clutter, we've all collected so many treasures over the years, and especially if you've been in your home for a number of years, it's very simple for surfaces to become cluttered, for walkways to become cluttered. And so kind of ensuring that we're decluttering those items, maybe either putting them in storage or helping other family members to have some of our treasures so that they can enjoy them. Um, Being able to declutter that and then have your daily items that you're using, your most relevant items, the ones that are out and easy for you to access.
Yeah. When we are helping folks get their house ready for sale, dealing with the stuff is a really big part of that. And we use a sticker system, to help organize and categorize. I was speaking with an adult child yesterday, just last night, about helping getting her mom's house ready. And her mom wants to do it herself. But we, like I said, we use a sticker system of a color system to say like
Mhm.
what's being kept, what's going in storage for the new place, what are we disposing, what's going to, we decide that. And so it might be an idea even for those extra items when people are thinking about decluttering, even putting a piece of masking tape on it. So next time the daughter comes, you're not trying to move stuff to a pile, putting something on it so that it's decided. And, because I always worry about people decluttering. And so how to do that safely is, to identify it so that when, the kids come in a week or two, at least they can just identify what needs to be taken away. And so it just allows that decision to be made, which is enough. Making the decision is hard enough of it itself, but to deal with it is a whole nother thing. So putting something on it, I find really helpful because it categorizes it immediately.
Absolutely. And that's such a great idea because you can then be intentional about it. You're not trying to move it to then clutter another area to wait for that to be decluttered.
Yeah.
And you can have some nice conversations. Oftentimes, there's actually so much beauty in the decluttering stage if we can kind of look at it that way, where when daughter comes over or granddaughter comes over and you get to share in those treasures. Some of my favorite items have been handed down to me from either my parents, my grandparents, even my great grandparents.
Yeah.
And it's just such a pleasure to be able to share in those things. So I think when we can kind of switch our mindset around a little bit to ensure that we're kind of decluttering our space, but we're also handing things down and off that really help that transition for you to remain safe in your space.
Yeah. So we're going to talk a bit about like the larger mobility supports. We talked about some low cost improvements. What are some of the larger things? I know we've mentioned some.
Yeah, so as we look to continue, if we're progressing in terms of our mobility needs and we're just kind of looking for some other options, we see here we've got three different categories here. One of the most frequently purchased items as what we'll call like an entry level mobility device is a cane or a walker or rollator. You'll see lots of people out, at the malls, at shopping centers, at grocery stores with the rollator that has the basket. It has the brakes that if you need a brake, you can lock those brakes down, turn around, have a seat. And then you see them in the home. People sometimes will put their tray with, their tea and their breakfast or whatever they need to be moving from place to place. And then, so that they're able to have a complete foundation, stability as they're walking throughout their home or wherever space they're using it in. So I know we'll get into some of the funding options, but I am just going to pause here to say For the mobility devices that are listed here, so the walkers and rollators, wheelchairs, and mobility scooters, there is a funding option for that, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But there are some options that people have there. And then as we look at home access, we touched on stair lifts a little bit. We haven't touched on ramps, but oftentimes getting in and out of our homes, whether it be through the front or the back, we have a couple of stairs that will bring us, up to the front door, or a threshold that we couldn't necessarily just roll in if we needed to. And then things like porch lifts. So in a situation where you may have 4 or 5 steps and not enough space to build a large ramp, you would need to look at a porch lift. So fun fact about ramps, for every inch you go up, you have to go 1 foot out. So a standard stair, I think, is 8 inches tall. So for 1 step, you'd need an 8-foot ramp to safely have an incline to go up. So in most cases, if you have more than 3 steps, a ramp may not be suitable for your area. And that's where you'd look at a porch lift. So one of kind of the open elevator looks, where it brings you up, brings you level with the surface, you transfer off and you go to the area.
Got it.
And so then, when we look at daily safety, so lift chairs, so those are the kind of lazy boy looking chairs that can recline, but then they can also bring you to a standing position. Beds that will do, well, the bed won't bring you to a standing position, but that can have the incline or kind of that zero gravity feel. And then transfer aids, so things like a Hoyer lift or a Sarah Steady or transfer sheets to help people in and out. So that would be more geared towards someone who is 80% or more of their time in a wheelchair and unable to transfer on their own, that they need assistance with that. And then certainly, we talked about some of the simpler bathroom items, such as grab bars or toilet safety frames. But there's also things like special bathtubs or bath lifts that can get you in and out of the bath, and so on and so forth. So there is, for every simple item that we say, there's also more complex, and that's to kind of meet the needs of people as your needs get more complex. And that ensures that you can continue to enjoy that space. So just going back, Anuja, to what you had said in the beginning, is every home capable of being modified? Absolutely. But it gets to a point where that complexity may the benefit of that may be lesser than the benefit of making a decision to transition. And so that's where you then have to make that decision for yourself and what's best for you and your family.
Yeah. Funding is a big one. So I do actually want to quickly talk about this. So what are we talking on some of these costs?
Yeah. So right now, so just say a rollator. Right now, the client portion, so a rollator is $22, I think it is. Government sets that price. It's across the board. You come into the store, you have someone come out to your home, and there's a few different types of rollators that can be chosen from, and the client portion is $82. So the government will pay 75% of one item in a 5-year time period. So every 5 years, you're eligible for a new item, and that's for a mobility device. So going back again to what I was saying before, so either a rollator, a wheelchair, or a scooter. Now, it's important to know that a scooter needs to be fully usable in your home. So meaning if we are in our home, we need to be able to drive around our space and safely navigate in the home. And so for a lot of people, a scooter may not be the best mobility device option at that point, or to have it funded. And so people will choose to purchase that independently because, then certainly being able to go out to the shops, make short trips. A scooter is a wonderful mobility device and really has given people so much independence. But it's just important to note that if you're going through the funding route, this is what they're going to want to see.
Yeah.
But scooters also, without the funding, you can get into a scooter, ranging anywhere from say $1,900 and up, depending on the size of the scooter. If you want something that can go out on the farm and go 4-wheeling with you, you're going to be looking at a higher cost than something that can go around nice flat surfaces in a shopping center and get you to a coffee store. But it just goes to show that there is a full range. So whether you're living more rural or you're living more city, then there is an option for you.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, there are, depending on what type of mobility complexities you have. There are different funding bodies that may offer different funding options for you. So if you have MS, if you have ALS, if you have Parkinson's, oftentimes there's associations that love to partner with families to help them gain equipment that's going to help them access their home or their life more. And then we also know that depending on income levels, there's things like March of Dimes, ODSP, and other different types of government bodies that are going to help provide equipment and needs for those those who are accessing. So
yes. Yeah, just on the
we've
screen
got
you
that on
can
the
see what's up
website
here.
right
Yeah,
there.
so that's up here. And we'll include this in the show notes, I guess we could call it, the meeting notes
Yeah.
in tomorrow's email. But just really quickly, if I want to access anything, do I start with the funding or do I start with the equipment? Like, do I come to the store first? There's a question about how to access. So do I go to this website and go that way, or do I come see you first?
Yeah, so that's a great question. All equipment that you would be going through the assistive devices program for, you do need to work with an occupational therapist who is ADP authorized. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to go and source someone before and say, I think this is what I need. At any point, you can come into our store and we can help join you with the right resources. So oftentimes we are the first point of contact where people have either Google searched or they've driven by a million times and they want to come in and just see what's available. From there, you can gain knowledge on what's available. And once some of those decisions are made of, I think this is the route that I need to go, then we can help you introduce to an ADP authorized occupational therapist. But if you're in, a situation where you're in a hospital and you're working with discharge planners, oftentimes they will be connecting you with a care network that's going to help that ball start rolling. But it's important to know, and this is where I say having these conversations up front are so important because when you know the next step that you need to take, so you know that you need a mobility device, you now know where you want to go. And I'm saying, where you want to go, because obviously you're going to come to accessibilities, but no, but no, you know that stores like accessibilities exist and you know what's going to happen from there. You're better equipped to then start asking the questions of, okay, so I know that I might need this because not everyone is an expert in all fields. And so, then you sometimes have to kind of navigate a little bit of, okay, so you said I need a rollator. So, can I go this route? So always, or never hesitate to pick up the phone and give us a call if you're unsure of the next steps. Someone is always available to help guide you in what that looks like.
Perfect. And so we talked a bit about, any home can be modified, certainly, but when do I know if I need to make a modification? So when would you start saying like these are signs to look for someone that they might need modifications?
Yeah. So I think there's been a few, things that we've touched on. So there are often times, and this is where I say, so I'm always sensitive to say these things, with as much respect as possible, because I understand that sometimes we just want to believe, nope, I'm fine, I'm safe, this is good, until something happens too late. But if we know that the stairs are becoming really challenging and, it's just, or we've seen our significant other fall up or down the stairs, and we want to make some modifications, but maybe that modification is not possible for some reason, whether it be financial or physical reasons within how the staircase is configured. We want to probably start thinking about, is this the best option for us? If the modifications, and I think I was saying this before, if the modifications that you need become greater than the cost of making a change, then you might decide, okay, maybe that makes more financial sense. Or for some people, they say, nope, I will do whatever it takes to stay in this home. Then you can, like I said, there's a whole host of options that you can really choose from. It just depends on, weighing up all of those things that I've just kind of talked about before. But certainly you need to ensure that you're accessing and you're able to access, majority of the areas of your home on a frequent basis. You're able to enjoy that and that you can, make those decisions. Then if all of a sudden you're only accessing 10% of your home, we want to start looking at what our options are.
Yeah. And so some of these things, I mean, are Do you find that it's one big event that usually brings someone to wanting to make a change, or is it the accumulation of a bunch of little things?
I would say I see two very distinct groups of people. um, you see the proactive people out there who are, looking because maybe they've had a friend or a loved one who's experienced something and they think, okay, I need, I've been introduced to this world a little bit. Now I want to equip myself with some knowledge, and they start to make those little changes along the way.
Yeah.
Or unfortunately, we see a fall happen, and now an individual is, exposed to a whole world that they never even considered, and now they're having to make some very big decisions very quickly.
Mm. So I want to talk um, a little bit, and it came up already when you were talking about stairs. You were talking about the curved or the straight if you're looking at a new home. So it's our last slide, so we're going to go through the slide. And so if you start to have questions, we are going to switch to the Q&A. I see some questions already coming in, but if you're out there and you're listening and you have some other questions, please throw them in the chat. But yes, we're talking about looking at a new home, and we say right size, and that can be look different to different people. But what are things that we should look for? I actually, for me, future proofing means no stairs at all. That's just
Yeah.
me. In an ideal world, there's no stairs at all. But besides the straight staircase, what else do you think is really important to look for in a right-sized home?
Yeah, so unfortunately, it seems like the idea of a bungalow these days has gone away, because now we know that land is so valuable. They're trying to get as many homes as tightly squeezed as
Yeah,
possible and just go up. So
there's
we
still
do see
some.
a
There's
lot
still
of.
some good bungalows
There
out
are
there.
still some, and I will be searching for one myself, even because it's just so much better. But um, you know, we've talked about this. So main floor bedrooms or flexible main floor rooms. So making sure that you have a full bathroom and potentially main bedroom on the main floor. That's a beautiful thing. Minimal steps. So when we look at entryways getting up, to the house, having minimal steps, one, maybe two, and then a smooth transition into the home is going to make a world of a difference.
Hmm.
If we're looking, at homes, we were talking about this before, some of us, have made investments in condos that, we think, okay, in 4 or 5 years from now the condo will be ready. That's when we're going to be kind of ready to right size. And in that, there's actually options where you can ask the condo builder to make the home an accessible, an add-on as accessible. And so they actually make the hallways wider, the doors wider, they lower the light switches. So just kind of finding out what your options are if you're looking to make those decisions. And then of course things like walk-in showers, so curbless showers. Now that is a huge design feature these days. So if you are looking at a home that's already been renovated, you'll hopefully find something that has a curbless shower, but that is going to make a world of a difference. And then, of course, always, things like laundry on the main floor or up where the bedrooms are, but where it's, mostly used, avoiding in the basement. And certainly like avoiding, piano tiles where it's a piano finish. And just if you get a drop of water, you're going for a slip for sure.
Yeah.
And just, low maintenance, as low maintenance as possible. That way, you're reducing your risk on what your activities are that you're getting up to. We don't want anyone, having to climb up on the roof and clean out the gutters every couple of months. But I mean, more power to you if you're going to do it. But just little things like that, we want to probably start thinking about not having to do so
Yeah.
much anymore.
Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So we are going to switch over to the Q&A. There's some questions here in the chat. And again, if you're out there and you have more questions, please feel free to throw them in. One question came in. I'm thinking about moving in the next couple of years. Should I still spend money on modifying my home?
It's a great question. So here's the thing that we know about real estate. So there are going to be modifications that are going to add benefit, and there's going to be modifications that are, potentially not attractive to the next buyer. So I think when working with, the thought of how you modify, working with a real estate agent to really understand what those upgrades might be, that would be a selling feature. So
Yeah.
certainly like bathroom renovations with curbless showers, beautiful thing. Kitchen renovations that have, easy to use cupboards, drawer space, beautiful thing. You know, installing certain, like some people want to cut a hole right through their house and install an elevator. that you're probably not going to get a return on investment in that if you're looking at selling within a short period of time. But,
Yeah.
if it's something that you're going to be there for a while, absolutely. So I would really recommend, working with a real estate agent and ensuring that you understand what of those modifications will be of benefit to the home.
Yeah. Okay, great. Next question is around, I'm having surgery shortly. Can I rent things like hospital beds rather than buy?
Absolutely. Great question. So this was supposed to be part of my pitch in the beginning. So now you're bringing it back full circle.
Okay.
So yes, you absolutely can. So on our website, and I think David will send that out in the email, we have our full rental list available. But certainly we have most products that you can buy, we will also rent. So you can rent and you can purchase. And then also, if you ever have a piece of equipment that you have now and it's not working or it needs a little bit of modification, we also have a full service department. So whether that's bringing it into the store to be looked at or having someone come out to the home, we can also help fix any piece of equipment that you may have and need, to use.
Yeah. Um, there is a question that came up, and this is actually a funny one, only because we skipped it. It was asking about the pool noodles. And so we had a recent, for anyone who saw our recent newsletter, we got the most clicks talking about a pool noodle. So can you talk about some creative ways of how to use that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've talked about a few different things over the course of the past couple of weeks that we've seen, but pool noodles came up when I had an individual who had just really bad arthritis in her hands, and it was making it really impossible for her to use, pens, utensils. I think even a screwdriver at one point she was talking about. She's still quite an active individual, and um, she had gotten pool noodles and then just like there's tubing that you can get, so smaller tubing that actually fits a pen and that sort of stuff, and she was able to fix it to most things in her life and adapt it to most things in her life so that it made her hands capable of holding on to the things that it just couldn't if it were in the smaller setting.
Mm.
But it was fantastic to see. And even things we were talking about like tennis balls, tennis balls on different surfaces so you can actually hold or grip better, depending on how and what your grip strength is. But
Yeah.
there's so many different little clever ways that you can modify certain things. And I would encourage anybody, if there's something that's giving you trouble, Google it. Ask ChatGPT, do whatever it is to say, this is what I'm having difficulty with. What are some simple modifications that I could use?
Yeah.
Because there's a whole host of creativity out there. And why not capitalize on other people's creativity to make sure that we're using that benefit, for ourselves? And even coming into the store and browsing our aids for daily living section, there are so many interesting things there that I would never even thought of. And I've been in the store for 28 years. So, it's a beautiful thing to be able to see.
Yeah. The next question that came in is around renovating the bathroom. Will renovating the bathroom with a walk-in shower lower the home value when I sell? So that might be, I'll let you answer quickly first, but I will answer after if that's helpful.
I would say no, not at all. Like I said, walk-in showers right now are actually like a huge design feature. I would actually argue that they're more popular than putting in a traditional bathtub or, anything like that. So I would say no, and I think you're going to say the same thing, but I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think it depends. I think absolutely it's not going to, I wouldn't say there's an automatic reduction in value. I think one thing depends what type of home it is. Absolutely. Family homes, often people do want a tub somewhere. And so it
Yeah.
can be something that people want. But I think it also is. In the midst of all other things. So a lot of, I don't know what you did with your babies, Melody, but a lot of people use mini tubs in showers now. So there's a lot more options. Some people don't want a tub at all. They'd rather the large walk-in shower. So it
Mhm.
doesn't automatically for sure, but it's a question worth asking depending on the type of home and the product. But again, I think the other side of the coin is, having a fall out of the shower is a very costly
Totally.
in money and in other ways. So
Yeah,
definitely
I think
automatic.
soaking is nice too, right? We all love a good soak once in a while. So I would agree with you there in saying, I wouldn't renovate every bathroom in your house to have a walk-in shower, but certainly if you're thinking of doing the main bathroom with a walk-in
Yeah,
shower and having your secondary bathroom, that's what I have in my home. My
same.
secondary bathroom has the tub and the main has the walk-in shower, and
Yeah,
it's a beautiful combination to have.
yeah. Perfect. And then one more question is just around walkers. So I have this question is about having a friend who has a walker, rollator, sorry. Is it okay to use that one, or do I need to get properly fitted?
That's a great question. So oftentimes I worry when I hear questions like this because we know that rollators are fit to each individual very specifically to ensure that your posture and the way that you're able to use the rollator is safe. Now, that doesn't mean that every single one is within unique category for that individual, but it does mean that we want to be looking out for a few things. So, are you the approximate same height as the person who was using it? So, if you're getting a walker that's handed down from, a 4'3" person and you're 5'5", that is not going to be an appropriate thing. And it can actually provide some danger rather than help. One thing that we always want to be looking out for is our handle height. We know that if our handle height is not the correct handle height, it's actually going to push your shoulders up or you're going to be hunching over because you're pushing your walker out in front of you. And so we want to be looking out for things like that. And, again, we are always happy to help answer those questions. And we've even had people bring their walker in just to say, you know what, I've got this as a hand me down. Can you provide a tune up on it and make sure that everything's in good working order so that I can then, pass this on? And at that stage, you can ask, is this the right handle height for me? Is this the right seat height? And we can help you adjust to make sure that it's going to be safe.
Okay, wonderful. My last question for you, Melody, if people watching could remember one thing from today, what would it be?
Mobility devices are one of the best decisions you will make. I
Mm,
promise you that. It is not a stigma that you need to be fearful of. No one's going to make fun of you for seeing you with a rollator or a bathroom safety chair or a grab bar. They're going to be jealous of you when you're still up walking around and, moving with independence and confidence. And so please never ever fear making that leap into getting something that's going to give you more independence. It
mm,
is empowering and it is something that will keep you moving and mobile for much longer.
mm. Thank you so much, Melody. Melody Pitts from Accessibilities, thank you so much for being here. For those of you watching, please do look out for that email tomorrow. It will have Melody's contact information, how you can access the store and the website, as well as some handouts and some information that we talked about today, as well as a contest. So please give your feedback. And if you have any additional questions, please pass them on to us and we'll make sure that they get to the right person if it's Melody or someone else in the organization. And we'll put the sign up there as well for our next webinar, which will be on August 6th. But again, thank you, Melody, so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Anuja. Really appreciate it.
All
Have a
right.
great night, everyone.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Good night.